Jess, we are back with you, having finished Anne of Green Gables.
Yes.
Haley and I are so proud.
And we
Three solid hours.
Oh my goodness, that's how excited we are. We are just talking over each other. Tammy, your thoughts?
Oh, no. I have questions first.
Oh,
Okay,
goodness.
questions.
Right.
Did you cry?
I came close to tearing up at one point. I'm trying to remember which part it was. I think
Maybe
it was
when Matthew dropped in the field?
actually, I think it was more the moments between Anne and Marilla, like after
No.
that got me more
So-
so than Matthew.
I did what I did last time. I watched the second half of the movie just plain, and then I went back and I watched it with the director's commentary. And he said that scene after the funeral between Marilla and Anne is his favorite scene in that movie. And it's so powerful because Colleen Dewhurst, who plays Marilla, she played it very stoic at first, the way she usually is. And then on the third or fourth take, she put more emotion into it, and that was the gold. And he said, by the time we finished this take, the crew around them were so overwrought they had to break for lunch because everybody was so emotional.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I can imagine though. I mean, it was a very powerful scene.
And I mean, it meant a lot to me back then because I lost my grandpa at a young age. But now, having lost my father, and just Matthew laying in her lap saying, I only wanted you from the first day. Don't ever change. I love my little girl. I'm so proud of my little girl. I'm like, every single dang time. It doesn't matter how many times I watched it. I cry every single time.
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely hit me more as an adult.
Oh, yeah.
Than as a child. Like when I was younger watching it, it was like, oh, that's sad. But then watching it as an adult going, oh.
Tugs at the heartstrings a little more.
Yeah. Especially with Marilla and her storyline. Like, again, I think we talked about last week how she's such a dynamic character in Anne and how she changes a lot from being very just like direct and stoic and no nonsense, and then she just kind of warms up through the movie. And then when she loses the one person that she is closest to, I mean, like, you know, this is her brother that she grew up with, and the two of them were that was it, Matthew and Marilla, spinster siblings living over in Green Gables, doing everything together, and then you just lose that. It's really sad.
And she said that he'd always been such a kind brother to her. I was like, oh. Because that's the way Matthew is.
Right.
You know, he's the quiet, strong,
gentle soul.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
We at least are glad you got slightly misty-eyed at some point because we were banking on you crying during that time period, Matthew dying.
Something right
there.
Yeah, I was like definitely feeling the emotion, and it was like kind of right at the surface, and it just didn't quite go over the edge.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like if you would have watched it in one sitting, or a part one all together and then part two all together,
you know, that probably would have helped. I do think, you know, well, I watched it
at like 2 a.m.
Oh, I watched it in like 4 different parts, mostly at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. because that's the only free time I get. And I did find it a little hard sometimes to follow some of the jumps and the transitions in time. But yeah, I think it would have helped, but unfortunately I didn't have 3 hours to sit and watch a movie. I don't know if I could last for a 3-hour movie. I cannot sit still that long anymore.
No. Sit for an hour and a half at a time.
That's even a challenge. A 20-minute episode is about all I can get out of myself these days. I have the attention span of a toddler.
I think the next one Cammy and I are gonna have to go back and go, okay, for the second one, because we're doing the second one. Yes. Cammy, you and I have an assignment. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna go, okay,
plan it.
This is where Jess needs to stop.
Watch this chunk. Watch this chunk.
Watch this chunk.
Good idea. I like that idea, Casey.
Yeah, because if you watch the whole movie, there's not very many. It's very obvious where the time jumps are because you'll see the seasons change. Yeah. Like they do the whole montage of Anne and Diana frolicking at the beach. And then there's another one where Anne's walking through the woods and you see it turning from fall into winter. And then there's another one where, so I think had we have known, I think we would have better planned it out for you, saying like, okay, stop here and then stop here, because this movie spans from the time she's about 12 going on 13 all the way till her being 16.
Did you realize how long 16 lasted? It never really occurred to me. I just thought, oh yeah, she jumps, but we've got her taking the entrance exam at Queen's saying I felt just like I did 3 years ago. So she must have been 16 then, and she does the Lily Maid, and she goes to Queen's and she finishes her year there, and she comes home and still says, I'm 16 and just as stubborn as you are. I'm like, are you almost 17,
honey? So speaking of Queens and school and influential people, there was a very influential person in Anne's life, Miss Muriel Stacy. So
Miss Stacy.
Before we talk about the love we have for Miss Stacy, do either of you have an influential teacher in your life?
They were both English teachers, which is kind of funny.
Me too.
Well, no, I take that back. I had some drama teachers that I still keep in touch with that have influenced me a whole lot. So one was one of my teachers in Nicaragua. He was an American, and his name was Mr. Sullivan. And he reached me in a way that I never really had been reached before. And I love literature and I love doing all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, he had a way of saying things, which was really, really great. And then in high school, my freshman English teacher, Mrs. Arts, she had taught one of my older brothers in English when he was there. And so we had that connection to start us out. And then she told me how he had come dressed in my mom's wedding gown with a mask on his face and come and presented Miss Havisham from Great Expectations to all of her freshman classes from the time that he was a freshman all the way to when he was a senior. And so when she told me that, I said, well, I'll do it. And she said, really? I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I was doing the same thing my brother was doing, creating Miss Havisham, and she got better as I went along, because when I first started, I still had my brown hair peeking out from the veil, and I just had an old person's mask. And by the time I got to my senior year, I was graying my hair and putting old age makeup on and just staring the kids down. And then my two theater teachers, Mrs. Jordan and Mrs. Cunningham, though I still keep in touch with both of them.
What about you, Jess?
I think I definitely have a few teachers who had like a bigger impact on me, but honestly, I think the most influential person was actually my academic advisor. So not quite a teacher, but my college academic advisor.
Well, they're important too. They lead us in our
well, I think because my program was pretty small that I was in, and met with her quite frequently, and her background I think was also in social work, and so I think she always is really, you could tell she cared about you and your journey and stuff, and even now she'll check in on me sometimes, so
Aw,
That's sweet.
sweet.
Casey?
Mine is my 9th and 11th grade English teacher. So I went to a smaller school, so I had the same teachers. Mrs. Schmuck. She was the sweetest person. She was my English teacher, and she just really poured everything into the students, into everybody individually. She was also really fun, like the stories I could tell about just some of the shenanigans that she would kind of pull. And so yeah, she was fantastic, and unfortunately she passed away in 2011, I believe, I think, from some kind of I think it was some kind of cancer or something like that. But she left a really big impact on a lot of students, and so still think about her to this day. I have a picture with her. I have it in my scrapbook. But yeah, love Mrs. Schmuck. Well, Miss Stacy, she has replaced
Mr. Creepy.
The worst teacher that this island has ever had, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. She was a breath of fresh air after that guy.
After Phillips, absolutely.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the mouse in the pudding incident, because that is the moment that just sent us frantic texts.
Oh man, I was greatly disturbed. And yeah, I did start cracking up, but she's like, "Don't eat the pudding."
And just how close it got to her mouth. And Anne's cringing and trying to, and then it gets this close, and it's just
love how they just start laughing at her. Like Marilla's so exasperated by this whole incident, and then Miss Stacy's just like, of course it's gonna happen. If it's gonna happen to anybody, it's gonna happen to Anne.
Right.
Yeah.
I loved one of my favorite lines in the whole movie is, if you know how many things I want to say and don't, you give me some credit. It's like, yes, Anne, you're my girl.
Oh, Miss Stacy. I was really sad when she had to say goodbye.
I know.
It was like that moment of, when okay, I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I graduated high school, even though I was going to college in the same town, it was like saying goodbye to my teachers. It was sad in a sense, because they were so influential on my life, and they just, it was like a realization of, oh, I'm not going to see these people anymore. They're not going to be there for me anymore, because I'm moving on, and I'm closing a new chapter. And so when she walks away, it's almost like, oh, well, like Anne is really growing up.
Yeah.
And so is Gilbert, because
I was just about to say, and the last words that she says to Anne are, I want to remind you of something you told me. Tomorrow is always fresh, with no mistakes in it. And then she walks away to go shake Gilbert's hand. It was like, think about that, Miss Shirley.
Oh, Miss Stacy shipped those two.
She sure did.
She sure did. Hardcore. So let's talk about Mr. Gilbert Blythe.
Okay, so first of all, Jess,
yes,
did you catch at the end that Marilla had once been betrothed to Gilbert's father?
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I think I already suspected as much because of the conversation we already had last time about the blackboard incident, and how you made a very particular point about the fact that her attitude changed when she realized who it was. So I sort of anticipated that she had been romantically involved with his dad to some degree. Yeah. It's hard to imagine Marilla in a romantic relationship because she's so like, she's kind of like me. She's a little more stoic and
that's what got them broken up, was that she was too stubborn to forgive him.
Well, so for the next movie, they do dive a little tiny bit deeper into that. So we'll save the John and Marilla stuff for next movie, but it is interesting. And small towns, they like wag their little tongues. So I'm sure everybody, as soon as they heard Anne Shirley and Gilbert Blythe, they were like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing. If Marilla hadn't broken things off with John Blythe, we wouldn't have our Anne and Gilbert.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
We would not have this serendipity.
Yeah.
So, and I just have to say one more thing about, okay, you saw what Gilbert did at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Grand gestures, always a way to a woman's heart.
Huge. He gave up his teaching position and went over to the next town and is offering to pay room and board instead of being in Avonlea, where he can save enough money to actually go get a college education. But that comes into play again in Anne of Avonlea, and it's a very pivotal scene. So remember that.
Yes.
Because that's one of my favorite scenes in Anne of Avonlea.
I love the turning point for Anne and Gilbert with the infamous Lily Maid scene. So now, Jess, you have now seen all of Anne's gal pals. There's Anne and Diana and Ruby Gillis, the blonde.
Okay.
That one. And St. Andrews, like brown hair, very sensible, etc.
Yeah, that's Jane.
Yes. And then there's Anne. So how would you, there's 3 of us and there's like, 5 of them.
Well, and don't forget the cat, Josie Pye.
Oh, sure. She's not involved in the Lily Maid.
Yeah, she's not in the Friends.
But how would you, there's 3 of us and a few of them. So go ahead and place who would play who.
I'm scared now.
Oh, we all know who would be Anne.
That would be Miss Cammy, and I think
Casey's gonna be Anne.
Casey would be Diana, and I would be Jane.
We need to find Jane.
Huh? Jane.
You're saying you would be Jane?
Out of those 4, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You wouldn't be Ruby. You're not hysterical.
I don't know if I can channel that.
Who would we have as Ruby?
One of your children?
I was about to say one of our daughters, because they get that hysterical.
We need a child-like energy for that role. I don't know if we could channel that as people in our 30s.
Oh, too funny.
Something that I really noticed watching this time through is how little they were, even how much like little girls they were, even when they were young women, and how they were expected to take on all of these household responsibilities, basically doing the work of an adult and still being considered a child. It was really, really interesting. And just the knowledge, the naivete and the innocence. When they're 16 years old, they're playing pretend. And Diana's being all dramatic, saying, "Oh, Anne, how did you ever escape?" It's just, it was really interesting to me, the dynamic of them being so old but so young at the same time. It was really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It must have been very, I kind of wonder how in real life people felt at that age, 15, 16, as a woman.
Oh yeah.
In that time period, wanting to be grown up, but then also wanting to still be free like childlike free.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Interesting.
Okay. The currant wine incident. You're the only one who has ever touched alcohol, so
I am, and that was actually my least favorite scene. I did not care for that.
Tell us why. Tell us more.
Like, it seemed a little silly. That I mean, so they thought it was this raspberry cordial, which is non-alcoholic, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a raspberry like juice.
And I don't think Diana, I mean, to me, it seems a little of a stretch that Diana would have been able to drink that much if it was truly alcoholic. Like, she would have noticed something was wrong and probably felt like worse sooner, I thought. I don't know.
No, that's a good point. I do think, because remember she said, it's awfully nice, Anne. It's much better than Mrs. Lynde's. It doesn't taste a bit like it, So,
I mean, she was like chugging that, and I mean, I guess I don't know how much was it. In actuality, was it wine?
It was okay.
It was called currant wine, so I don't know how strong that is compared to other wines. But
so, if you're a child, I feel like if you're a child and you've never obviously had alcohol, by like glass 2, you'd probably be pretty far gone. Like, you'd be busy, you would be feeling it.
Yeah, so she had 3 tumblerfuls. So I imagine just a glass, just a regular, 10-ounce glass. Short glass, or and then also, so currant wine, basically back then, at least in Avonlea, like there was a whole push about prohibition versus non, right? And so Marilla had some just for illness. So it was probably not anything really that strong.
Oh, it's probably kind of diluted then.
Right, because again, it is it's like 1890s, I think, at this point.
And she makes it herself, and she doesn't exactly have a distillery, so.
Right, so it might have been kind of like kombucha in a sense, because kombucha has a bit of alcohol in it, but not enough to make one drunk. But maybe if you drank a lot of it would make you really sick. And so again, time period and such. I will say
demon liquor's fault.
I will say I did find the acting in it very amusing with Skylar Grant as Diana.
She was so great in that scene.
But I think the other point here too is they had to pull Anne and Diana apart, right? And see how Anne would fare without her bestie,
that her bosom friend.
Her bosom friend. But Anne to the rescue.
Okay. That, and Jess, that was the scene I was talking about with Matthew and Anne, because Marilla had gone to the rally, and so it was just the two of them, and they didn't have to be on their best behavior. They were just talking and having a quiet evening together where they were relaxed and they were just having fun together. And then, of course, Matthew gets up right away and goes to get the doctor, and Anne says, I know exactly what to do with the croup. Let's go.
That scene made me incredibly nervous because I've never seen the movie. I haven't read the book, and I was wondering, I'm like, oh no, is she going to do like the wrong thing, give the wrong medicine or the wrong amount? Because she's a child, and I was like, oh no. And then I was like, it's probably gonna be fine. But I got really nervous for a minute that she was gonna make it worse. So I'm glad it all fared well.
So the girl who plays Minnie Mae is actually Kevin Sullivan's niece.
Yep, Morgan.
Kevin Sullivan is the creator, he's the Sullivan Entertainment. He's the
and he directed it, yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is another little fun fact.
And so her performance, which everybody calls brilliant, they say, who is that brilliant little girl who could play sick at 4 years old so amazingly? He said that on the commentary, that was the result of bringing a 4-year-old onto a very hot set in the middle of summer, and she totally flipped out. And so that was a little girl crying for her mom. And just freaking out with how hot it was and how much she had to sit there in the bed. And he said, somehow we got her into the bed, and she just went for it.
Goodness gracious.
So turned out very lifelike.
Yeah, I know. That probably would not fly in today's world.
Yeah. Right. My thoughts exactly.
Probably some child actor laws against that.
Yeah.
But can we talk about one of my favorite characters?
Yes, please.
Actually, you should guess first.
Oh gosh. Okay.
It's Aunt Jo.
I was gonna say, is it Aunt Josephine?
I loved Aunt Josephine. Great. She kind of reminded me of Downton Abbey, like Violet Crawley a little bit, where she's like, she just has that sensitive bit, and she's kind of she has this little kind of devious nature to her a little bit, but then in the fun way, you know?
Yeah.
So I really liked her a lot.
Yeah. She's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although I will say, I would feel a little slighted if my great aunt loved my best friend more than me.
I know. Diana really gets the shaft. You know, she has to jump in. Maybe I'll come stay with you too. I'm just like, oh, poor Diana.
Although at the same time, because Diana's family never really had a great relationship with Aunt Josephine, maybe it was a relief too. Like, oh, good. Somebody's finally broken this woman.
Well, and the fact that Anne is best friends with Diana brings them closer. So it's kind of an automatic in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Aunt Jo is great. She's almost like she's almost Marilla like, but in a completely opposite way. It's
she's
very
rich.
Interesting.
She's more like Marilla with a
lot of money.
I keep trying to think of the word, and I don't know what it is. She
like a little more sass, because Marilla is sarcastic.
Yeah, she's like got the humorous sass sort of thing going on, where she kind of finds some enjoyment in being sassy, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and that's the money talking, because she said a married woman would never be able to be as cantankerous as I am free to be, because she's got all this money.
I can feel a little bit of kindred spirits with her. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a spinster like her. I'm gonna be that woman.
Love it. Oh, any other points? We never finished our Gilbert talk. We just went straight into friendship.
Yeah, we need to talk about Gilbert. One thing I will say is something that I noticed. I love how I keep picking new stuff up with it, watching it with a podcaster's eye instead of just watching it for fun. Mm-hmm. So in the last half, I picked up that it was after Marilla heard that it was Gilbert Blythe that then she decided to let Anne stay. And this time around, you know, we talk about Marilla getting used to Anne, mm-hmm. and letting Anne have her moment and then reining her in and all of that. But I noticed something. It was a really kindred moment, if you will. When Anne is getting ready for her performance at the White Sands Hotel, and she's got that beautiful white dress on, and she's got the rosebud in her hair, and she just looks ravishing. She looks lovely. And then Matthew comes in with the string of pearls, and she still has those in Anne of Avonlea, by the way. So mm-hmm. she hangs on to those. It's mm-hmm. so sweet. And so the fact that he has just given her those beautiful pearls, and we just got done hearing that he plunks his money down awful quick these days for anything that Alice Larson says is pretty and fashionable. But then Marilla comes in, and Kevin Sullivan said in the commentary that when he first saw Megan in that dress, he had a Marilla reaction. He's like, no, that's too much. Then it grew on him. Like, oh, yeah. Okay. You know, and he kind of learned that he had to be a team player in this. Yeah. But when she comes in, I looked at Anne's face and I looked at Matthew, and you could see them both just saying in their heads, okay, here she goes. Let her have her rant, and then we'll go on. I've never seen it before, but they just both were quiet, smiled. She finished, and off they went.
Yeah.
And that's really what it has come down to. Everybody has gotten used to each other. And I think that even though Matthew and Marilla lived together in the same house and obviously grew up together, I think that they've had a very distant relationship as brother and sister. They don't appear close, you know, they don't do a lot of things together. And so raising Anne together has kind of made them a family more.
Yeah, and didn't he even say that he hadn't been upstairs in years? Upstairs in the house. So maybe they really lived separate lives.
Yeah, he hadn't been upstairs in that house for 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long time.
It's a very long time. So yeah, I really loved how they became parents, and they became a family because of Anne.
Aww.
Well, do you guys have any last thoughts before I quiz you?
Well, we have to talk about Gilbert. We have to talk about Gilbert.
We do have to talk about Gilbert has the patience of a saint, first of all. Waiting for Anne Shirley to forgive him. Most guys would be like, forget it. First of all. Second of all, her accepting his, like, asking her out to the White Sands. Oh my God. And then her going, no, just kidding, because she freaked out because everybody else freaked out because he helped her out of the buggy.
To get out of the buggy.
And then my personal favorite, and I think this is a gift somewhere, is bobblehead Gilbert at the White Sands. The standing ovation. Did you think that there would be a kiss at the end with Anne and Gilbert?
Are you talking to me or are you talking to Jess?
No, Jess.
I kind of wondered
that question.
I kind of wondered, but I'm glad there wasn't. Like I mean, I like the slow burn, and plus, you know, up until that point, they had just been like kind of towing the line a little bit. And I think it would have seemed maybe a little it wouldn't have seemed too soon, maybe a little impulsive just in the moment. But I would rather I prefer even a longer build up. I think it'd be good.
Yeah. So in the book version, I think she is over. It's been a while since I've read the book, but I'm pretty sure she was over in Matthew's grave putting flowers down, and I think she was out, like she's walking home or whatever, and he stopped, or like they meet up. He tells her, like, you know, all the things, and then the book, where the book ends, is she goes inside to Green Gables, and I think it's Marilla who says, "Oh, you've been talking out there for a long time."
Wink.
Yeah, and I guess like in the book, they talk for a really long time, just basically catching up on the last 3.5, 4 years.
Because they keep passing each other like ships in the night.
Right.
It's completely her fault. Yeah.
I like how whenever she would see him, she would just be like nose in the air, literally to him.
I was almost glad, that he kind of threw her own medicine in her face, because she had this big hottie in this scene behind me Gilbert Blythe would stand on his head if I asked him to. You know, and then he completely ignores her. And you know, that's one of the few times where I say, yeah, she deserved that.
Yeah. I did feel really sad for Diana there because he gave her a little special attention, but it was, you know, it was more to slight Anne. And we know that Diana likes Gilbert, and so it's a little sad too, though, because you know that she's gonna get hurt over it.
Yeah, and we find out more towards the end that she's been carrying a torch for him, and she steered clear because of Anne. It's kind of
Anne says she isn't interested in him, but we know that that is a lie.
Long-faced lie.
We also know that Gilbert steals Anne's dance card.
I still am trying to figure out exactly how those things work, because how can men write their names on the card if it's filled, if it's constantly on the lady's wrist? You know, it's just, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to do a deep dive into the history of dance cards.
So what I believe it is that the ladies' dance cards are laid out. And the men go and write down what they want. But, you know, then they say, will you do me the honor of reserving me a dance on your card? And so I don't know. It's an interesting, we need to do a deep dive into dance cards. Because I'm still trying to understand exactly how they work.
Yeah. Well, drum roll. All right, Jess, it's all you.
I'm going to apologize. This is very poor trivia. I found it on the internet because I didn't have time to rewatch the movie to look for trivia. And you know what? It is really hard to find trivia for this movie. I could not find any good trivia. Like, I searched for a very long time. It was either too easy, or it was all of the movies, not just this one, or it was about the book. And I had the hardest time. So I'm kind of pulling bits and pieces from this little quiz. Funtrivia.com. Thank you to the maker of this, Shell822. I'm going to pull a couple questions and maybe phrase a couple differently to make them a little more challenging, hopefully. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
All right, you guys are ready?
Oh no, I'm scared. Ready. Go ahead.
All right. Question 1. What is the name of Anne's parents?
Walter
Bertha and Bertha.
Aren't they lovely names?
And how did they die?
Fever.
What kind of fever?
Both parents died of a fever when she was just 8 months. That's all it says.
What kind of a fever?
It's been a long time since I've read the books. I don't remember.
That's a question from the book. That's a question from the book.
Well, you know.
What
is it? It's hard to find it. Okay.
What is it?
Question 2. Where did Aunt Josephine live?
Oh, crud. Does it ever say?
New Brunswick?
Mm-mm.
She lives...
Wait, are you talking a town or like the name of her state?
Town.
Oh. Charlottetown.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, yeah, Charlottetown.
How many sets of twins did Mrs. Blewett have?
2.
All right.
Because Mrs. Hammond had 3.
And then when let's see, what did Marilla say she wouldn't give to that quote Blewett woman?
A dog she liked.
Very good. Gosh, I knew these weren't going to be hard enough for you guys. I know. I really need. You know what? The next movie, since we're going to plan it better, I will have real trivia that I find myself, because then I can look for really like obscure details.
Oh gosh, which way does Gilbert look when he says ...
All right. When Matthew went to buy Anne's dress, what was the first item he asked for?
Break.
Then what did he ask?
Brown sugar.
sugar.
Well, he asked for hayseed, but they don't carry hayseed. And then he asked for sugar.
How many pounds did he buy?
25.
20.
20.
Oh, 20.
20 pounds of brown sugar.
All right. Next question. What name did Anne give to Barry's pond?
Lake of Shining Waters.
Lake of Shining Waters.
All right. You guys are too good at this. Okay.
We know this movie.
I know you do. What is the name of Anne's window friend?
Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Katie Maurice, actually.
Is it Maurice? I thought it was Morse.
Whatever. Pronunciation. Maurice. Katie Maurice.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Last question. So you said that she gave Barry's pond the name the Lake of Shining Waters. What did she
What way of delight?
Gosh, you didn't even finish the question. You know what? We're done. That was lots of it. And I was like trying to, because it gave little like paragraphs explaining some of the background from the questions, and I was trying to pull from that too. And man, okay, next movie, I'm gonna be on top of it. I'm gonna watch it better and when I have more free time, and I'm gonna get some real challenging ones. This was too easy. This was just the warm up, okay?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
For next time.
Well, you got us with Aunt Jo.
That's true for a second.
Kind of. I mean,
For a
you
second.
know.
I made you think. It wasn't automatic.
You made us go,
Oh man. Oh, there's Quiz Bliss, the ultimate.
Oh gosh.
Let me see if I can
It's
find
one
the
that would, like, you know, for fan, like that any fan should know, but they were like the easiest questions, and I would read them and be, well, I could answer these.
And I've seen it once.
Like, who is she interested in the movie? Gilbert.
Well, that's debatable.
We know it's there.
How does Gilbert spell chrysanthemum?
Oh, that would have been a good one.
Okay. All right. CHRYSANTHAMUM. That's
yes,
how
he's the one that, yes, he spells it with an A.
And then Anne spells it the correct way with an E.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
it's
it
like
would
her
be
name.
an E.
No, but my favorite is when she goes EMUM.
And then poor Chrissy back there. Oh man, that was just painful. CH
R
Chrissy.
I S MUM. It's like you didn't even spell half the word here.
Yeah. Oh, hey, while she's looking, what did you think of Anne and falling off the roof?
I'm surprised she didn't break something.
Yeah, like her neck.
Although the roof wasn't terribly high, was it? I don't remember. This was several days ago at 3 a.m.
Well, and it's a smaller building because it's the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And they would keep the kitchen, separate from the house so it wouldn't get too hot. Mm-hmm. So it was the kitchen. So it was just a 1-story small building with enough room in it to cook food, but still it's a roof of a building.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one. I mean, Kimmy will get this, but whose parents offered to throw Mr. Phillips a goodbye party?
I know this one.
Was it Diana's?
No. They do the picnic, the Sunday picnic. Moody Spurgeon.
Moody Spurgeon.
Nobody told me. His one line.
Nobody told me.
And what is the name of the man who marches Anne back into school?
You might remember this because he shows up more than once. I'll even give you this. He tells her to go away because he doesn't want her scaring the cattle.
Oh, I can see him. I can see the scene, but I don't remember his name.
Mr. Sadler.
Mr. Sadler. On the director commentary, he said that Kevin really loved the actor because he was so easy with English and he had such a refined quality about him that the way he played Mr. Sadler, especially in the ending scene when he's offering to buy Green Gables, was just so easy and refined and everything he wanted Mr. Sadler to be. I was like, oh, that's cool. So.
And what is the name of the poem Anne recites?
I know this one.
Lady, I'll let you answer it,
of Shalott.
Wait, at the White Sands.
Oh, just kidding.
Do you know it?
I saw it when I was looking for trivia last night, but I don't remember. I'll know it the minute
Highwayman.
Yeah.
Highwayman came riding.
Riding. Okay, here's a good one for Cammie.
Okay.
Because I can't even think of the name of the poem off the top of my head.
Okay.
But what is the name of the lady who goes before Anne in the White Sands? And what poem does she recite?
I have no idea what she recites because it doesn't ever say the title. But she is Mrs. Amelia Evans.
Mrs. Amelia Evans, who goes on to play Hetty King in the Road to Avonlea series.
There were so many people. I have not watched the series except for a little bits and pieces here and there, but on the director's commentary, Kevin would keep saying, this actor went on to play so-and-so in Road to Avonlea. This actor went on to play and I just thought, wow, they really took a lot of people and continued it on. I liked that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a little weird though, because the girl who plays Alice Lawson, Mag Ruffman, ends up playing Olivia King in Road to Avonlea. And so does the minister that we meet at the Sunday school picnic. He goes on to play
Reverend Allen.
Yes, Reverend Allen, the actor, goes on to play Alec King. So that's Olivia King's brother. And then Amelia Evans plays Hetty King, which is the other King sibling. So
you have to get used to all of it.
Yeah, and then there's also Diana Barry's father ends up playing a brother-in-law, one of Hetty and Alec and Olivia King's brother-in-law, and then you see a photo of the girl who plays Ruby Gillis, who plays Sarah Stanley's mom, who's died. They do a lot of dual crossovers, so you can't think too hard about Anne of Green Gables and Road to Avonlea because it's the same town in the same time period with actors playing dual characters. It's very, don't think too hard about it.
Here, Casey, I've got one for you. What are the two things that Diana wants to eat all day while sitting in a hotel?
Ice cream and chicken salad.
Very good.
I almost said ice cream and lemonade, but I was like, no, that's the Sunday school picnic. Fun times. Well, we are wrapping up our episode of Anne of Green Gables, the Kevin Sullivan 1985 version, the one and only acceptable version to watch these days.
Only one.
Not that we judge if you watch other,
Okay, I think Casey judges you a little.
Maybe just a little, as but we will see you again next time as we review Anne of Green Gables, the sequel, also known as Anne of Avonlea. Yes, it does have two different names. So if you are interested in watching along with us, do so. And let us know that you're watching, and follow the podcast and share and like and blah blah blah, all the good stuff. So you all have been here long enough to know, like, review, subscribe, share, etc.
Comment.
Well,
see you next time.
Have a fantastic day. Bye.
Bye.